A12, first of all, fits and how it's seen within your network in Area 6 East Anglia. When you say the word A12, what does it mean to you? I mean, is it a congested road? Is it a road with a high accident rate? Is it a road with substandard geometry? Is it generally, how does it compare with A11, A120, A127, A13 in the area? What are the characteristics of it that you worry about in terms of the management task?
I suppose one would characterise it as not being an exceptional road in any of those respects. It is, and as the submission says, in accident terms, it is slightly safer than the average of that type of road. In terms of reliability, in terms of the northbound, it's better than the proxy measure we were using for the reliability target. Southbound, there are some issues, but those are difficult to understand currently because of the improvements that have taken place at the M25 junction that we've put through into the monitoring. So I'm hopeful that some of the reliability issues will have gone. In terms of the level of service, again, it's on the margin. The southern section of it is, and that is shown in the submission, its capacity to flow ratio. So okay, slightly to the north, as we know, north of Chelmsford, we've got some issues, but again, we've got proposals in the pipeline for actually addressing those. And indeed, I think the maintenance proposals are not really maintenance as such. They're actually quite a refurbishment of the road, and that has shown that you do get an improvement in the level of service, which is what we've seen to the south of Chelmsford.
Can I press you a bit on the reliability measures?
Yeah.
I have just glanced through here, but you've given us some charts, these charts here, and I understand that these will be using the measure that is used in the public service agreement with the Highways Agency to represent the reliability of the network. And the grey in these charts, which is the horizontal line here, is the target. And where it goes above that line, therefore, you're missing the target on those occasions. So the question is, first of all, I think as far as one can, this is measuring what our witnesses have complained about. I mean, again and again we've heard it is to do with the frequency of interruption of service, as distinct from the average level of flow in relation to capacity isn't really the issue. It's the incidence of the occurrence of incidents. So is it your view then that on this measure, the A12 by national standards is pretty typical?
Yes.
So you see no special problem here?
I think the trouble is with reliability, the way it is measured, which is looking at incidents that affect the end of the distribution curve, is that you get an occasional incident, like in the famous incident on the A12 in terms of the acetylene, that distorts a lot of the information. And that's one of the issues, and I was listening to the previous witness and your questions there, and I think it is really quite relevant, which is why I corrected the thing in the submission, is that the response to incidents is improving and needs to be addressed and to continue to improve, because that will actually impact quite considerably on the reliability, and that's why I am confident that the reliability is going to improve because of the amount of effort we're putting in, both not just in terms of engineering measures, but in terms of our response to incidents, in terms of the ISUs, the enhanced ISUs, in terms of working with the police and the other emergency services to improve their release of these large critical incidents to us, to enable us to do the engineering clearer.
Just to pin down the basics, you're not questioning, are you, the way these things are measured? I know there are lots of problems here, but fundamentally, I know how hard it is, but fundamentally, we are measuring the right thing from the user's point of view with these statistics.
It's my understanding of what the users are complaining about. I think that these are a suitable way of actually getting at
I
this.
understand exactly what the y-axis is on these. What is the y-axis, this vertical measure? This one here, what is that measuring?
That's
Vehicle hours delay.
that's the hours delay. Yes, that's the average vehicle delay.
In what?
In what?
In minutes.
Per mile.
I can give you a full definition.
If
for
you'd
that,
like
so
a
it's-
treatise, a short treatise.
No, I just want to know what the y-axis is. If I was going to write...
It's a proxy for vehicle hours delay.
It isn't true vehicle hours delay.
It's for the as you said, the vehicle, the trips at the end of the distribution.
That's
It's
exactly.
looking at the worst cases.
Yes.
Worst 10% of journeys.
Yes. Yes. So that's very interesting because your figures show some deviation over the months in different places down the route, but broadly speaking, as you just said, there's some hope of bringing it back within the PSA target.
Or towards
That-
the PSA
yeah.
target.
That doesn't square with what some evidence we've received says. You've given us some other measure, which is the stress maps.
If I may, just before moving on to the stress maps,
Yeah.
I think there's an issue of granularity, which is a word that we are using more and more now. The graph, and there are 3 graphs in the appendix, in that particular appendix to the statement. The graph that you've showed, and there's another one for the other carriageway, are taken over a fairly long length. In fact, it's the whole of this section of A12 which you are considering. And the reason for that is the way that the PSA target is targeted. If you were to look at the other more detailed map, which is what we are wishing to do as a complementary activity, it starts with the availability of data that we can now accumulate. It starts giving us a capability which is far greater than what we've had before. So we can start to relate causal activities to what we see coming out of those numbers. And over coming years, and not too far ahead, we will be able to target far more and identify with more precision exactly what is occurring at a given location compared to the whole 80 odd kilometres.
And that indeed is what you've done on this, where you've
It-
broken it down
yes,
by section.
yes.
And there are big differences section by section.